good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're listening to the Thai Expat Daily Show. I'm your host Kieran Mack and thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like this video if you're watching us on YouTube and please do subscribe. We're also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music and a host of other podcast players. Now that that's all done, let's jump into today's show. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Thai Expat Daily Show. This is the second upload of today and this is the Q&A session. Now all the questions that I'm about to answer were posted on the episode 106 and thank you to everyone who asked questions and are interested in knowing different things in relation to the reopening of Thailand to quarantine-free travel from November 1. Now I'll jump into the questions in just a second, but just quickly to say that we say quarantine-free, but you do have to spend the first night technically in quarantine or until you get your test result. But nevertheless, it's an improvement, I guess. So let's jump into the first question. It's from a Gary Elbin. Will I be able to go home to a UTIA province after the one-night quarantine? Yes, Gary, once you do your one-night quarantine, you are free to go wherever you want once you test negative. The next question from Everything Explored. Important question nobody seems capable of answering. If I fly after November 1st as a UK resident, am I allowed to travel on an indirect flight with change plane only in airport, not enter the country, example UK to Dubai, change plane in the airport, Dubai to Bangkok? Can anyone clarify this, please? Thanks. Yes, Everything Explored, you can. You've always been able to do that. In relation to the transit, it never, as long as your flight was originating from the UK, you did a stopover in Dubai and you continued on your travels, there's no issue whatsoever. Now another question from Mel Hamaguchi. Does the health insurance have to be from a Thai company? I have my own health insurance that does state it covers for COVID-19 and my coverage is up to $1 million US. Now, this was clarified yesterday and again today because there was a bit of misinformation put out there by various Thai ministries and agencies. So to clarify, and this is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you do not have to buy from a Thai company. You are not obliged. As long as your insurance covers you for COVID-related sickness and up to $50,000 US, your foreign policy will be fine. Now he had a follow-up question. Also, upon arrival in Bangkok, is there a special vehicle that will transport me to my SHA Plus hotel in Bangkok, or do I need to have my SHA Plus hotel arranged for my transfer to the property from the airport? Now, that is a little bit confusing and they still haven't really clarified it. Now, I did read an article that said that all the taxis at the airports are going to have these glass panels in between that and the driver. So from what I'm reading, and also another thing, hotels do not have huge amounts of cars standing by to transfer people. So my idea, the way I see it is that you will have to you could get a taxi from the airport as long as it's an SHA plus taxi, which means the driver would be vaccinated. You go to your hotel and then they would arrange for the swab test, I think. But look, that's going to be clarified in the next few days, I hope. And sorry I can't answer that one fully for you. Jared Glines, cost of the Thai COVID insurance for 12 months, £150. Guess I cannot do the test in a SHA hotel for a day booked in Pattaya, driven there in a hire car, so need to pay taxi to Pattaya. I'm not 100% sure, but Jared, let me try to explain. You are allowed to land in Suvarnabhumi Airport and take a taxi to your SHA hotel in Pattaya. You cannot rent a car. So you just have to take the taxi to Pattaya. And once you get there at your hotel, they will arrange for the RT-PCR test for you. And that's, as far as I know, is the procedure. And the next one is from Lineman. I wonder how Thais will be accepting to foreigners again. It seems many don't want the country reopening and rather it stay closed until things get back to normal. I know a number of Thais don't even want to leave their homes now to go out even to talk with their friends. It's changed here. Yes, you are correct about that. There is a lot of Thai people who are very skeptical and hesitant about the reopening on November 1. And they are the people who obviously aren't in the hospitality industry or have family members within it. But there is a large group of people still in Thailand who do not want the country reopening to foreign tourists. And it's just the way it is. They have a fear. Now, it is an irrational fear because, let's be honest, there's plenty of COVID in Thailand, so I'm not sure what fear they have of foreigners or why they have that fear, but it's there anyway. But that's currently how it is here. Dave Rostrom, What is this BS you have to buy COVID insurance from a Thai company? I already have travel COVID insurance for my company there, which I purchased here in Canada. As I said, Dave, you do not need to buy it from a Thai company. No matter what the CAAT has said, they posted some really misleading information yesterday. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who will be the ones that pass this information to the embassies and who are running the Thailand Pass website and will be screening all the documents, have said it does not need to be from a Thai company. So I think we can take that as the truth. Now, RJ has asked, Swaddy Crab and thanks Kieran, could I ask you if you have any info about what the policy will be for tourists who come to Bangkok and then decide to go to another province like Phuket or Chiang Mai? Will they need to do a PCR test again every time they fly domestically? Thanks and have a great weekend. RJ, not at all. So, to fly international or domestically within Thailand at the moment, of course the rules do change all the time, but currently you either have to be fully vaccinated or you have to do a rapid antigen test. Now, rapid antigen tests are the ones really used a lot more domestically in Thailand because PCR tests are a lot more expensive. A rapid antigen test depends where you go. I was getting them for 200 baht at the Phuket checkpoint, but I've seen 500, I've seen 900, I've seen 1,000. But no, if you're fully vaccinated, you're good to fly domestically in Thailand, and that is to Phuket or Chiang Mai. The rules at the moment are pretty standard across all different cities. Christopher has asked, Kieran, thanks for your show. When will we be able to book the short hotel stay for the test results for low-risk countries? It's still only 7-day booking. So, Christopher, you will be able to book it, I would say, in the next few days. The issue is hotels at the moment and accommodation, let's say, or SHA plus hotels or accommodation, do not have all the information. So number one, they don't know how much the RT-PCR tests are going to be. The government have spoken about standardizing the cost right across the country, but that hasn't been done yet. Secondly, and there's a bit of information that kind of cropped up in this that's kind of they managed to sneak through, but apparently you have to take an ATK test, which is a rapid antigen test on day 6 or 7. They'll give you this at the airport. I don't know how that's going to work. It sounds like complete nonsense to me, but nevertheless, the Thailand Pass website will open up on November 1. You'll be able to start making your bookings on that day to get your Thailand Pass QR code to travel. But for getting your Shaba ID and your package, you'll have to just wait till the hotels get the information because they just don't have any right now, and it's all a bit messy at the moment. Now, next question, Alex Kidd. What will happen if we are fully vaccinated, coming from a low-risk country, having a negative PCR test on departure, but having a positive PCR test on arrival? Well, Alex, you will be taken to what they call, it will depend. If you have no symptoms, you'll be taken to what they call a hospital, which is basically a hotel where you will stay in your room. You will do another COVID test to see if you're positive or not, just to double check. If you are positive, you will have to stay there until you test negative again. And that's the way it is here in Thailand. They are quite strict about it. It's happened to a few sandboxers over the last 3 months, but they haven't really highlighted it, but it has happened, yes. Mustaq Ahmad, is Bangkok going to be in the sandbox from November 1? So, Mustaq, yes. Bangkok is part of the blue zones, or what they call blue zones. They're trying to get away from the sandbox term now, and they're going with a blue zone. So yes, it will be part of the sandbox or a blue zone, yes. Now, Chris Williams asks, do you know an exact date for bars and nightclubs to reopen? Absolutely no, I don't. And nobody knows the exact date. I doubt even if the Prime Minister does. But they have spoken about December 1, but still we'll be waiting for that. Now, in these sandbox zones, I believe alcohol will be allowed to be served in restaurants once they open up, or these blue zones, but still a little up in the air with the information on that too. Now, Christian H, any news regarding that new rule entering the country should be on a chartered flight, different rules on scheduled flights? No, that was actually all nonsense. That was a mistake made by one of the relevant agencies. It's been corrected by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. No, you do not have to arrive to Thailand on a chartered flight. Though it's funny that if you want to go to Buriram, you have to arrive on a chartered flight. But I don't know who's going to Buriram either. So it's all a bit odd why even Buriram's on the list, to be quite frank. But nevertheless, no, that was all just misinformation, and it was clarified earlier today. No charter flights needed. Wayne Taylor asks, so to clarify, an expat going to the UK and returning to Thailand 2 weeks later does not need to apply for any Thailand pass or COE type document to return, as you have a current visa with a re-entry permit, have insurance, and you say you just need a Shabba hotel code. Thanks in advance. No, Wayne, you do need to apply for the Thailand pass. Yeah, you have to go through the whole procedure that a tourist would go through, unfortunately. What it meant, and they keep talking about this 21 days. No, it means that basically you have stayed in the country with 21 days. But look, just basically disregard that 21-day rule. If you go home to, let's say you're the UK, right? You go home for 2 weeks and you want to come back to Thailand, okay? You still have to apply for the Thailand pass. That's the bottom line. You'll need to get your, have your passport, your vaccination certificate, your insurance and all that stuff. 1 night Shabba or SHA plus hotel accommodation, your PCR test on arrival. Yeah, you still need to do all of that. Yeah, so no, there's no difference in relation to that. JK writes, why is Taiwan not on the list? Or has Thailand counted Taiwan as China, while Hong Kong is on the list as a country, making it appear as an independent sovereign nation? Thailand is kissing up to Chinese overlord again. JK, I think it would probably be the second part of what you said. They've probably counted it partly as China. I think Thailand are very, very cozy with the Chinese at times, and I think that may be part to do with it, yes. Leslie Kenmare, my wife wants to meet me at Bangkok airport and travel to my SHA Plus hotel together for our 3-week stay. Is this allowed, or does she come the next day after the PCR result, both fully vaccinated? Leslie, yes. Your wife cannot stay with you the first night because you're technically in quarantine. So yes, once you get the negative test the next day, she's good to join you. Yeah, no problem there at all. LV5150, great video as always. Questions that I have for you. So number 1, am I wanting to come back from Las Vegas on December 11 to January 5th? I want to come to Phuket. In doing so, can I do the no quarantine program and don't have to do the Sandbox program? Correct. You can do the no quarantine. You can arrive in Phuket. You have to do the Thailand pass and all that stuff. 1 PCR test on arrival and you are good to go, yes. When signing up for the Thailand pass, do you already have to have flights and 1 night in the SHA booked? Yes. So you have to apparently you're meant to upload your flight details, I think. And yes, you have to have the 1 night in the SHA Plus hotel booked, because you're going to get a package from that SHA Plus hotel that will include your PCR tests at the airport or wherever they're doing it, because that's a little bit up in the air too, and your accommodation. Yes. So you will have to get that 1 night package first in order to be able to upload it onto Thailand Pass. If coming for 25 days, you don't have to show the 1 night booked, or do you have to for the all-night book somewhere else? No, you just have to show for your first night. That's all you need to do. As long as you meet the requirements for the Thailand Pass, the quarantine free, you're perfectly fine to book just 1 night's accommodation. Yeah, as I said, once you get to Thailand, you pass your first night after the PCR test, you can go anywhere you want in the country. LV5150. Now, Mr. Bisco, here's a question. When you fly into Bangkok, you have to go to your hotel for a test, right? How do you get to your hotel? What if your flight arrives at midnight and you're going to Pattaya? I know it's about 90 minutes away. Seems messy. So if you're going to Pattaya, for example, you will get your taxi. I believe you can get a taxi, but it has to be with a vaccinated driver, and they're kitted up, the cars in a different way. You will get a taxi direct to your hotel in Pattaya, and when you get there, they will arrange for the PCR test to be done, and that's basically it, yeah. Another question, if you have to have a test 72 hours before you arrive and it takes 20 hours to get there and it takes a day to get results, that doesn't give much time to get the test done. From my math, it seems you don't have a small window. No, you only the 72 hours before your flight. So if your flight's at 8 o'clock on a Friday, right, you have to do your test 72 hours before that 8 o'clock. So you would have to do the test no later than Tuesday at 8 o'clock at night, if you get what I mean. So yeah, that's what that means. The flying and all that stuff in between, that doesn't count. Just the departure time. Another question from Pito. Can non-citizens of 46 countries but have stayed more than 21 days in those countries be eligible without quarantine? Yes, they can. They count basically as being resident there as long as you've been over 21 days, but you'll have to prove that you've been there for that 21 days. So I don't know how you can do that in some countries, but yep, that's basically it. So Mark Walker says, so you arrive as a tourist in Thailand, double vaccinated, but you get a breakthrough infection, which happens. Do you extend your stay in a hotel quarantine recovery? Where do you seek treatment? Private hospital only? When can you travel again to your next destination? If you get infection, it all depends on the severity of your infection. If you have no symptoms, they'll put you into what's called a hospital, which is basically a hotel where you'll just stay in quarantine there. They'll monitor you each day and you'll do a test, I think, on day 10, because that's normally when the virus will be out of your system, I think, or something. If you test negative, you're free to move on after that. If you have more severe symptoms, you'll be taken to hospital. That's obviously where your insurance will kick in to pay for that, because that's why they want you to have the COVID insurance. And once you recover there, you're free to continue on your way. And finally, Pat Kennedy. Good question re Emirates Insurance. Is the policy acceptable for a 30-day stay? So Pat, as long as you book your flight with Emirates, you have a return coming back, yes, that policy is accepted. I've thoroughly read that policy from Emirates, and it's very good policy actually, and it covers COVID. It meets all the criteria from the Thai government. So yeah, you can use that policy. I think it's free actually with your flight. So as long though as you have the return leg and you are coming back. If you're going on a one-way, no, it wouldn't work, but you have to have the return. But that's it. So that's most of the questions that I received. I hope I've answered them to an acceptable level for everyone out there. If there's any more questions, do feel free to, leave a comment down in the comment section, or if you just go to my website, you can send a message from there too. I'm more likely to probably read that, because it comes up straight in my phone and I'll see it. But if there is any questions that you have or you're having issues, I'm always here to help. I'm always here to try find out information, because when you're in the country, you can find things out pretty quick. And if there's anybody, thinking of coming to Thailand, just let me know and I can always help. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all again tomorrow morning.